This breaking just a moment ago, the office of Minnesota's governor, that's Tim Walz, just responded to the federal probe into what went down at that St. Paul church. The spokesperson says, quote, the governor has repeatedly and unequivocally urged protesters to do so peacefully. While people have a right to speak out, he in no way supports interrupting a place of worship. Fox News legal editor Carrie Orban is with us now. Carrie, we flagged off the top of the show that, the governor had not weighed in yet, had not said anything publicly about what went down over the weekend. What do you make of his response?
Oh, well, he knows this is a big problem. Anyone looking at that video, and if you come from a legal background or perspective, you immediately think, oh, there are some federal crimes potentially taking place here. They're interfering in people's right to worship or in their right to exercise their faith. There's a federal statute that prohibits conspiring with someone to interfere in their right to exercise their religion. There are a number of federal statutes that the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice could pursue, and it sounds like from the statements they're putting out on X and some of the interviews they're doing that they are in fact pursuing those.
Let's put those, sorry, Carrie, while we're having this conversation, let's put those up on the board so that folks at home can see these are the laws at play that Carrie just mentioned.
Yeah, so it's the FACE Act, which to a large degree refers to abortion clinics, damage to religious property, obstructing worship, conspiracy against rights, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Missing out of this, I guess, is just simple trespassing, which would be a state crime.
State crime, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And on the FACE Act, yes, it's known to be a law that is enforced in the abortion context, but there is that big church piece of it. And if you remember the context for that, that was the compromise with Republicans back in the 90s when they passed this. There was this law, they wanted to pass law to protect people's access to abortion facilities. Republicans said, okay, we'll do that, but only if you present the same kind of protection of access for churches, which is why we have that. That was the Hatch Amendment. Look, there's that federal statute that I think is very clear, obstruction of persons in the free exercise of religious beliefs. That's U.S. Code, that's 247. You put that up there. And so I don't know what these people were thinking. I really don't. Like this one really gets to me because we obviously hold freedom of religion very sacred in this country. It's our first freedom. It's why our country was created. And so we take protecting that very seriously, especially the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice. And they have a plethora of federal statutes by which they can pursue their investigation and possibly bring charges.
So there's this exemption when it comes to protest in public spaces. Americans are allowed to do that, within limits. They're not allowed to behave violently. That's obviously a crime. So there's no such distinction, right, when we're talking about houses of worship across the country, meaning it is not a defense for these protesters like others in Minneapolis to say, well, we didn't, we were just exercising our First Amendment rights. There was no violence.
Well, the key is, were they interfering and impeding that right? And so what does the worshiper think? What was that worshiper feeling? So if you're sitting in that church and someone, and those videos are still coming out, so we have to wait for the rest of the footage. But let's just say, for instance, that someone is yelling, and when they go into that church, and they're not just yelling chants, but they're yelling things that the parishioner could find scary. Well, that person may think, well, I feel threatened. I feel threatened that this person could possibly commit harm, physical harm against me. I certainly feel intimidated to exercise my right to worship. Like, I'm not going to be singing the hymns anymore because there's a crazy person next to me screaming at me. I don't feel comfortable being a worshiper in my own house of worship. That's what the courts are going to look at if, in fact, charges are brought at some point.
I saw a picture online of a man hugging his young son who appeared to be terrified by what was going on. And as you point out, we've seen crazy people go into churches and shoot the place up.
Well, that's right.
These protesters obviously didn't look like they were going to do that, but did the parishioners know that?
Yeah, and the other question I have, too, is if this was an organized group, which it appears it is, right? These people just didn't appear organically on Sunday morning. From what I've read, it seems like they were part of some groups and the like. Well, that's when the conspiracy claims, the causes of action can be pursued. If you want to go all in and you're the Civil Rights Division, you can tack on mail fraud, wire fraud. Were there emails about this? Was there crossing of interstate lines? Did people bust in? Did they buy anything somewhere else and use that, over state lines? So there's a lot of ways to go at this. And I suspect the Civil Rights Division is going to do just that because it's a big deal to go into a church and start yelling at people and intimidating people as they're worshiping God.
DOJ officials have said they are trying to trace now as part of this investigation the money, who was funding the protesters, if anyone. So that certainly speaks to what you just laid
It's
out
always
there.
the question.
Yeah.
Who's funding this?
No, there's going to be a trail for sure. Thank you, Carrie. Good
Thank
to see
you.
you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.